What is up? Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. And on today's episode, I will be talking about processed food. Is processed food actually bad for you? And that's kind of a broad question, so there'll be a lot of nuances, and it depends in this episode, but this is a common question I get from my clients. And so I figured it'd be a good topic to talk about from like a not extreme approach, because oftentimes the things that are highlighted on social media are pretty extreme. It's like Diet Coke is going to give you diabetes. That is a ridiculous statement, number one. Or you can eat whatever you want as long as it fits your macros, which is the other kind of extreme. So I tend to sit in the middle, but I will... Let's just dig into it. But before we do, I just wanted to thank you if you've been enjoying the episode, listening to the podcast, and getting a lot from it. If you could rate the show, share it, subscribe, that just helps me get in front of more people, which helps me help more people, which is the goal of this show. So, yeah. So thank you for coming back and listening to more. But is ultra-processed food bad for you? The answer is, it depends. And there's a lot of... So there's a nuance. So oftentimes the clients that come to me that are eating a lot of processed food, their diet does not have enough protein in it. They tend to not get enough fiber, and their diet tends to be a lot higher in calories than if they were eating more like single ingredient foods. So a common easy, quote unquote easy, hack to help some people lose weight is to just focus on eating whole foods, focus on eating protein and fiber from single ingredient foods like meat, vegetables, fruit, dairy products, like single ingredient foods that come from the earth or animals or the ground. And that is really the key overall. Like for a lot of people that would help a lot of problems, but if you're really trying to dial in your body composition, build muscle, lose body fat, and you've kind of been doing all the things, like your diet is like 80% whole foods, cooking at home, 20% going out to eat on occasion, and maybe you have an Oreo here and there, you're probably that tip is not going to work for you, because you're kind of doing a lot of the stuff, especially if your diet's like pretty high in protein. From there, it's just going to be calorie manipulation, focusing on specific muscle building and fat loss phases where you're tracking your calories, you're being diligent with getting enough protein, you're strength training and getting strong week over week, and you're really pushing yourself in the gym, and you're getting good sleep. And so all in all, that's a common, like, there's a very popular fitness podcast that is great, but it's very generalized. It's generalized for newbie people, your average population, not the person who's been training for a decade, or who's tried every diet under the sun for a decade, or for somebody who's already doing a lot of those things. It's like removing processed food is not going to make the fat loss quicker. It's not going to make it easier. But the reason, anyway, back to why that's a common thing is foods that are processed and packaged basically in a bag, or there are multiple ingredients, and they're engineered, and they're food scientists. They're literally engineered to make you overeat them and eat more of them. And so that's where the processed food is like bad for you comes from, because most processed foods are devoid of protein. They don't have protein, they don't have a lot of fiber, and they're really tasty. So it's really easy to eat an entire bag of potato chips, but it's really hard to eat 2 whole baked potatoes. And a bag of potato chips might have like 10 potatoes in there, but they're thinly sliced and deep fried. And so they taste like really tasty. And because of how they're cooked and processed and the flavorings that they put on there, they're less filling. Whereas if you're eating like single ingredient foods, there's, as I said, more protein, more fiber, and those things in the foods, the nutrients and the micronutrients, signal to your body like, hey, I'm good, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore. Whereas processed foods are made to overwrite that process. So that's why like a lot of people say processed foods are bad for you, don't eat them, yada, yada, yada. It's because they hijack our body's natural signals. So it makes it really hard to maintain your body composition if you're eating processed food all the time. And processed food, as I said, it doesn't have a lot of protein or fiber, which are really important for building muscle, overall gut health, energy levels, overall just quality of life health, like feeling good and that sort of thing. They also don't have a lot of micronutrients, so which your body needs to function well, just in general. Like, there's a lot of different micronutrients, but your body needs them, and you can get them from whole foods, fruits, vegetables, dairy products, animal meat, fish, whatever, eggs. But a lot of processed food, they're just made to taste good. They're not made to have more micronutrients. They're not like a multivitamin in a food. You know, I have an idea. Potato chips that are loaded with micronutrients. I'm just kidding. If anybody steals it, you heard it from Fit Habit Life first, and it's Emma Kirchner's trademark. So I get a portion of whatever profits you make off of the multivitamin potato chip. But anyway, so yeah, they just don't have a lot of nutrients. They're not filling. So oftentimes when people eat a lot of that stuff, they're not getting the stuff their body needs to either send the signal like, hey, I'm good, I'm full, to recover properly, right? Because if you don't have enough protein, you're not rebuilding the muscle you broke down in the gym. And just overall, like, calories. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to lose weight and, you know, lean out, and you're eating foods that don't fill you up, you're going to probably have a really hard time doing that. Especially if you're not tracking your calories, which is the fastest way to do that. So, processed food isn't bad. It's just, it's really hard to stay healthy eating those things if you're not tracking your calories. And that's the key. Part of my job as a coach is to educate my clients on how to use tools like tracking to help them get the body composition that they want and to help them reach their goals in the most effective way. But I'm teaching them how to use it. So that way, like, let's say it's the holidays and you're like, I'm traveling for a week. I don't want to track. I want to enjoy it. Cool. You don't track for the week, but let's say you put on a couple pounds. Well, now you have the tools in your tool belt to kind of dial things in a little bit and get back to where you wanted to before, the right way. So that's why, like, and most of the time, most of my clients, like, they've either tracked before or we're currently tracking and trying to get them to a healthy caloric intake for whatever performance goal they have. Maybe they're trying to build muscle. Maybe they're trying to lose body fat. And so if you're tracking your calories, you can for sure include processed foods in your diet, as long as most of the foods in your diet are whole foods that are nutrient dense. You're eating enough protein, you're eating enough fiber. You could have an Oreo here and there and you're not going to get fat. It's not going to slow down the fat loss process. As long as, I said, you're doing the other things, you're checking the boxes on the other things. If you're trying to lose body fat and you're tracking your calories and you are eating a lot of Oreos, but you're going over your calories every day, well, that's part of the problem, right? But you know that, you have the data. So it's like, well, maybe I remove all processed foods for now to make it easier for me to feel full while I'm losing body fat, which will inherently just make you hungrier anyway. So processed foods aren't inherently bad. They hijack your body's signals, but you can definitely include them in your diet. And there's different degrees of processed food too. Like I was talking about potato chips, Oreos, whatever. But there's some processed foods that are good for you. And if we're just talking about like processed, technically like sourdough, homemade sourdough is a processed food. That's not bad for you. It's really good for you. It's got some good quality carbs. It's tasty. Most women don't eat enough carbs. Yes, you heard me correctly. At least most of the women that I coach don't. But we're getting them there. So like sourdough. And then another common like processed food that is healthy is protein powder. I coach a lot of people, and a lot of people struggle to get enough protein in throughout their day. So you know what I recommend? I recommend protein powder. I use protein powder every day. Not because I need it, I like to eat meat, but because I like having a Ninja Creamy every day. Technically, that's a processed food, but it fits in my diet. It has protein in it. Because I have one almost every day, I never crave ice cream. And that was one of my things. Like I would always crave ice cream. I'd go out to get ice cream a lot when I was struggling with my weight because I really enjoy it. And part of life, and not saying I can't get some now, but generally speaking, I don't feel very good after I have ice cream. So that's why I don't really like it. But I feel great after I have my Ninja Creamy every day with the protein powder in it. And I get, 20 plus grams of protein in a pint of ice cream. That's pretty dang good. So anyway, protein powder is not bad for you. And in general, like, removing processed foods, if they don't agree with you, like a lot of people tend to have issues with dairy. And part of why, I think, is because most people have some sort of gut overgrowth, dysbiosis, or some type of intestinal permeability, leaky gut. And so that's why they've developed like an immunity to them, or maybe they have bacteria in their gut that like to ferment and cause gas and bloating and distension when they eat it. But anyway, I think most people probably should be able to eat it if they have a healthy gut. But anyway, point being, if there's foods that are processed, that when you eat them, you feel really bad, you get inflamed, you have gas, bloating, you feel uncomfortable, that's probably something you shouldn't eat all the time. And so that's the other thing. It's like, not all processed food is bad, but that doesn't mean you should eat all processed foods, right? And so it's kind of like figuring out for yourself, what are foods that make me feel good? What are foods that I can eat regularly without having uncomfortable symptoms? And what are foods that I should be prioritizing, but maybe on occasion can include in the diet because I like to eat them. And part of sustainability is including things in your diet that you enjoy eating. Sometimes it's finding a swap for them. So something I've been doing recently is coming up with like fast food foods that I can make at home. So I've been making smash burgers. I got the Ninja Crispy. Really awesome. Highly recommend. I air fried like some potatoes the other day, and they were like, I didn't put any oil or anything. I just chopped up a potato, peeled it, and I put it in the air fryer, and they got super crispy. It was crazy. They were like French fries. Not as tasty as the normal ones, but pretty dang good for a craving. So anyway, you might be able to make those foods at home or make those foods in a way to where they still help you reach your goals. They have more micro and macronutrients in them, and they still taste really good, and they kind of fit that craving. And then from there, you can continue to have those on a regular basis. That's what I did with my Ninja Creamy, with the Ninja Crispy, the fries. So anyway, all in all, processed foods aren't inherently bad for you. Sometimes they can be a tool. Another great processed food, diet soda. I have a lot of clients in Utah. Soda is very popular because there's a predominant religion where they're not allowed to have coffee, but they can have caffeine. And you know what has a lot of caffeine? Soda. diet soda has a lot of caffeine. I don't think your whole diet should consist of diet soda. Like, that shouldn't be the only beverage you have on a regular basis, but having one a day is not going to kill you. It's going to be totally fine. So it's something you can definitely include in your diet, and that is an ultra processed food. I have them on occasion. It's totally fine. And that can help you reach your goals. If what you're doing right now is having soda every day, swapping to a diet is going to help you get to where you need to go. Right? Because you're going to reduce, like, I don't know, I haven't had regular soda probably in like a decade, just because I never felt good on it. And so I just kind of stopped getting it. Trying to think. Yeah, it's probably been 10 years. But, so I'm not really sure. I think it's like maybe 150 calories a can or something like that. But hey, if you have 2 of those a day, you swap to diet, boom, you're probably going to be in a deficit. And the part of the processed food thing is sometimes if your diet consists of a lot of added sugar, I've noticed personally, this is an anecdote, it's not a sciencey thing, that can cause a little bit of systemic inflammation. And so removing some added sugar from your diet, swapping to a lower calorie option, that's probably going to help you reach your goals. And that's you having ultra processed food. Obviously, if you don't drink soda now, I wouldn't add it in. If you don't crave it, you don't need it. But if you're sometimes, like, one of the tools that I use is if I'm in a fat loss phase and I have less calories to play around with, I might not have room for like a dessert sort of thing that I make at home. But I can fit in a diet soda because there's 0 calories. And that can help me have a sweet treat while sticking to my goals. So anyway, not all processed food is bad. Processed foods, some are great. Protein powder. So there's like a scale. And you can include them in a diet, and that's not going to keep you from reaching your fitness goals unless all of your diet is processed food. You're not eating enough protein, you're not eating enough fiber, and you're not controlling your calories. That's the biggest thing. And sometimes processed food can be very handy, like deli meat. Deli meat. I'm trying to think of other things I can't think right now. But anyway. So I've been in a spot where I removed all processed foods. I would only eat single ingredient foods. And that's why I'm pretty passionate about this topic, because what I've noticed when someone tells themselves, I cannot eat any processed foods, I can never eat processed foods, when you do, you feel really bad. Because I used to feel really bad, and I might overdo it in that one sitting with the processed foods because I'm like, well, I'm never going to have these again. So, point of this episode is, if you have processed food sometimes, that's not the end of the world. But start to pay attention to how it makes you feel. Think about what you're doing when you're eating that food. Are you using it as a coping mechanism to help you handle emotions? Are you having some because it's a special occasion and you haven't had one in a while and it just kind of sounds good? Is most of your diet consisting of processed foods? That's when you start to evaluate and maybe you want to make some shifts. But if the only processed food in your diet is whey protein powder, you're probably fine. And I wouldn't worry too much about it. And if you have chips on occasion, cool. Like, that's not the end of the world. But if you notice that when you do include a lot of those in your diet, you tend to crave them more, then that might be where there is a little bit of a balance. And so, point being is ultra processed food isn't bad for you, but it's not great either. And so it's kind of figuring out the nuances for yourself. How can I fit this into my diet? Is this contributing to my goals or is it not? And is part of this making it harder for me to reach my goals? So anyway, I kind of went all over the place today. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you're struggling with this, or even just your relationship to food in general, I've been there. I've helped a lot of clients through some of these challenges, and I'd be more than happy to chat and talk about how I can help you through those challenges if that's something you're struggling with. And you can book a discovery call below, and we could set up a time to chat. But other than that, hopefully this was helpful. And if it was, if you could rate the show, share the show, and subscribe, that helps me get in front of more people, which helps me help more people, which is the goal of the show. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.